warm welcome to Great Principles. I am Seema Choria. Our guest today is a multifaceted personality with over 20 years of experience as an educationist. She has done her post-graduation in English literature from DAVD University, Indore. But it's been her strong belief in continuously growing as an individual that has been the driving force in pursuing her PhD in the same field. She is qualified soft skills trainer and a guidance counselor with over 13 years of experience, having both trained students and staff in corporate entities. Her passion for mathematics led her to teach the subject for several years during her long career. However, it is her hands-on approach in teaching methodologies, classroom management, effective classroom delivery, resource-based learning, education and human language values that has taken her across cities to taking on exciting assignment in developing an upcoming school at Thane. Here she can infuse her experience and learning in constructing the foundation of the new school through a hands-on leadership approach to mentoring her teachers at the school. Welcome to the show, Ms. Monica Puri, ma'am, Principal, 7 Square Academy, Thane. It's an honor to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Seema, for such a wonderful introduction. You feel so elated when you talked about. Thank you so much.
It's an honor, ma'am. So, ma'am, to begin with, we would like to know something about you and your career in education.
So, I'm Monica Puri, and I introduce myself as an edupreneur. I believe these days principal doesn't play a single role. She has to cater to the education profile as well as she has to be an entrepreneur itself. She has to sell the product. She has to make sure that the school progresses and the advertisement, the administration. So everything comes into the periphery of the principal, right? So being in a lead role definitely has a lot of responsibilities. And I'm glad I have a very supportive family as well as a team, which keeps me going. And the most important part, I believe, is my children. So when the children are around, there's no looking back. So talking about my education profile or my career profile, it's been a wonderful journey through and about. If I say myself, I've been exploring possibly all the fields in education. So I started as a pre-primary teacher somewhere around 2001. So that makes me 20-year-old into education now. So the pre-primary exposure definitely is, a different kind of a field, which I believe nobody as a teacher, as a principal, or as a person could understand. Catering to the students ranging from 1.5 years to 5 or 6 years, it's the major challenge. And it comes to me as a principal, I really applaud my pre-primary teachers, those who are, taking care of the Montessori sessions. So being a Montessori teacher, post that I have been into primary school teaching and being a primary school coordinator. Again, I had loads in my basket. So it's, I've been cherry picking throughout my career. So being into teaching English, as I am a trained English teacher. Plus, as I have already told you, that my love for mathematics keep me around the mathematics classes as well. And along with that, I was taking care of the, the CC activities, the assessment, examination. So, on a second thought, when you think you've gone through a lot, you're learning through doing it. So once you do it, you actually understand what your teachers go through, what are the pains of a teacher, what is the actual challenge of a coordinator or a HOD, and you definitely give them a helping hand wherever required. And then after that, I got a chance to serve a CBSE school as a vice principal, and that was based out in Ranchi.
All right.
Again, I would say that experience of mine was another challenge, being a person who's born and brought up in Indore and totally a missionary pass out and stuff, and then interacting with the people in Jharkhand and Bihar. That was a learning experience for me. And it was a boarding school which was majorly focusing on sports development. So then again, if I say that from, languages, from soft skills, school where you have students 24/7 around you. I had a wonderful life there. We started at 5 o'clock in the morning and ended up at 10. And that was still, you had more time to invest into your profile. So I really loved being around in the school itself, being an in-house vice principal. I had a lot to learn as far as sports were concerned. Then after that, I got an opportunity to work in a school based out in Pune. And after that, now finally I am in Thane. So my life has been taking me places, and maybe I've been, tasting all the dishes in the platter, and that's what I am an expert now, I think. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so exposure of so many regions and gaining those experiences and learning, it really it reflects in your work also. Then
Definitely,
you are
definitely.
exposed
So I usually address my teachers as, I'm a jack of all trades, maybe master of none. Right. But these days, I believe a master of one field doesn't make you successful in life. You have
yeah,
to be an all-rounder.
you have to be, definitely, ma'am. Ma'am, you just told me about, that how passionate you are about, you salute the teachers of kindergarten section, ma'am.
Right.
So this, this increases my curiosity to know there are so many preschools coming up. What is the importance of preschool in child's life? Should a 1.5-year-old child be sent to school?
See, I have a dual thought over this first. See, the schooling pattern to start up with in India and internationally, there are two different concepts. And in India also now, if we talk about, there are major families which are nuclear and joint families. So I personally, when I counsel my students or my parents, so I keep telling my parents that, if the child has that learning capacity in the home, if you have a handful of people around who can help your child, so there's nothing like learning within the family. So you shouldn't push the 1.5-year-old child or a 2-year-old child to go to school. But on a second thought, if the parents are working, if they're professionals, and the child is being left out with the maids at house, that is not a good idea. So when it comes to the parents, those who are professional, definitely giving a child a better exposure, a set of intelligent and learned people or educated people to spend their time with, there is no parallel thought about it. So when it comes to the professionals, I would suggest that the children should come to school early rather than staying back at home with the maids taking care of the kids. The children get a very weird experience, which you and me would never prefer our children to go through.
Exactly, ma'am. Very beautifully explained this concept. There is a lot of debates going on. How can you send a 1.5-year-old child to school and this and that? But very rightly said, ma'am, with the families getting nuclear, the child is getting less exposure in family itself.
Right. So, and not even nuclear, these days, if we talk about, there are a lot of disturbed family as well. So there are single fathers, single mothers. So they have to keep their children occupied and they have the responsibility of the children. And I feel that we are community helpers. So why shouldn't we be a part of upbringing their children when they are challenged with certain abnormal situations?
Absolutely, ma'am. Very wonderfully explained the concept of importance of preschooling, ma'am. So, ma'am, my next question to you is, during this time of staying at home, uncertainty, adjustment, what strengths have you found within yourselves?
Your question has answered itself. Uncertainties, we've learned to live with all the uncertainties. We've been talking about, traveling through the time machine and going 30 years ahead and imagining how the schools would be like, how the roads would be like. But then as humans, have we ever been put in a situation called like lockdown? We have never got, right? So that is, we've actually learned a real good life skill here, that uncertainties are a part of your life. Nothing is predictable. And we have to, that's the major content, I believe, which education system should cater to, is making the children or the people those who are associated with us acquainted to all the abnormal situations in the surroundings. And secondly, like as you said, the education scenarios changed totally. And it's not only the education. Everything possibly has gone topsy-turvy. Whatever we were doing is nothing in the same fashion anymore. So we have learned to live with a new era now. So the way the people are reacting to things, the way the market scenario has changed, the way the upbringing or the thought process has changed. If I think about how many of us have actually spent these many hours staying back at home with our family members.
Yeah.
So this pandemic have actually given us a chance to sit back, relax, ponder, and think what we are running ahead for. We've all been running for work. We've all been running for finances. We've all been running for growth. But is that the end product? Do we actually need to do that?
Yeah.
Staying alive, staying stable, staying healthy. That's the priority of the human being at this point of time.
Definitely, ma'am. So going ahead, ma'am, I would like to ask about your school. What is the philosophy of your school and what makes it unique?
The basic thing what I'll talk to you, because as I've told you, I'm a new person in the system. So I always believe, you should always choose your bosses. So I am blessed to work with a wonderful management, the set of people who I'm working with, very, very spiritual, very, very valued, and they respect their staff as good as anybody else. That's the basic thing what I say would be the key point of my school. Secondly, the vision of the school is global education with Indian values. So I, as a person, like in our previous conversation, I've already mentioned that I've worked with Puttaparthi's organization. The school's name was Sri Satya Sai Vidya Vihar in Indore. There we've been, constantly been into human values. So I, as a mentor, I, as an educationalist, I always think a human is hollow without the value system. You can earn whatever, but you can't earn values. So it has to be instilled from day one. And the school is the main component in the child's development. So if we can actually cater to the values, and that's what we as Indians stand apart from the entire world, right? And like the people say old school pattern, yeah, I still believe in the old school pattern. So the value systems, that is to be taught to the children, rest all can be earned, rest all can be gained. But the values which you have within, that goes on and on with you throughout your life. So we have to, that two ways to learn values are from your family and from the school. So if we can, inculcate a lot of values, spirituality, meditation, donations, and helping the needies and all these things into the education system, we'll go far.
The wonderful philosophy of the school, which believes in value-based education as a prime need today, which is missing in today's generation somewhere.
Exactly.
So going ahead, ma'am, what qualities make for an ideal learning environment within the school or a matter of a school, within a classroom or for a matter of school?
Right. So if we talk about the school environment, these days, all the school have a lot of fancy things to offer. But then whenever I'm talking to my parents, I always say that the first thing you should look for in a school, in an organization where you are sending your child, should be the positivity. If, that place have positive vibes, if the people around those who are working, they're happy, the aura of the place reflects something which shows you progress and prosperity, is somewhere where the growth is implanted. So if you want a positive approach, if you want your child to grow positively, and if you want the education system, like initially, we used to always talk about the flaws in the CBSE system. But with the new education policy, they've put up so many new things, which definitely, as the young entrepreneurs, the young team of people, those who are into education system, will look forward to and love to try their hands on. If I, the teacher, would be asked to give specialized training to my children, that would be a real good fun. So what the child is enjoying and the teacher is loving to do, and there's no second thought about it. So I believe the positivity of the place. Secondly, the kind of teachers you have, it has a very, very positive impact. If teachers are happy, they are satisfied, they are practically paid well, which is the biggest crisis of education system. I really feel bad for our teachers across the globe. They are not actually, we say that we have the future to mold, but then the people, those who are molding the future, they are not even paid worth for their hours, what they invest into the education system. So the major component of a good education system is a good team, right? So if you have good teachers, qualified teachers, experienced teachers, and the ones, those who are devoted, that is the most important thing.
Absolutely, ma'am. The teachers are the face for the most visual person in the school for the child and for the parents. So while we should always look for happy teachers. And I think government has coming out with some measures, in capping the salaries for the teachers, the basic incentives for them.
Right.
Hopefully we are coming up with good changes. Let's see now.
Right. No, and we always address, the school as a second home for the children, teachers as a second mothers for the children. But then the irony is, that we actually, if we compare the salaries of an untrained person and an educated trained person, it would somewhere be as good as equals.
Right.
So I personally believe our teachers should be treated better than what they are.
Definitely, ma'am. This really needs to begin a thought about pay your teachers well. It is needed. So going ahead.
That's why I did not say as a principal, I can't use the word pay. So that's what I am saying, that they should be treated well, right? They should be remunerated for whatever the hard work they are investing into. And the remuneration should be worth it.
Exactly, ma'am. I totally get it, ma'am. Because, you know, you're sitting at a position which is challenging, exciting, and rewarding also. There are many things, but there are constraints too. But yes, a beautiful thought that when you treat your teacher well, your school flourish.
That's the key point, you know. If I talk about the thumb rule of a school's success, is always a happy team.
Exactly, ma'am.
A happy set of people around, that gives a lot of positivity in that environment.
Right, ma'am. So going ahead, ma'am, you're a soft skill trainer, ma'am. So why are soft skills important for students, and how can schools develop these soft skills?
I would again like to correct your statement here. Sorry to do that. But then it's soft skill is not only important for students. It's important for each one of us. Each one of us, you know. I would tell you, like today you were sitting at this chair and there's somebody who's as qualified as you, but is not as polished as you are. So definitely your qualities, your personality, your IQ, your soft skills add on to the feather in your hat. So soft skills or the basic etiquette is something which we all should have. You know? So we all look up to somebody who's trained, well organized, systematic, time managed. So there are a lot of things which soft skill covers in. So how you have to communicate with a person, how you have to actually convey your message to a fourth grade person, how you have to answer a phone call, how you have to meet up to your commitments, right? Being really, really time managed. That's the major constraint, I believe, these days. People coming down late to the office. So 110 reasons. So I personally believe, you know, there are 110 excuses. There's only one reason. So you have to just stop giving excuses and find the reasons. So soft skills make you actually stand apart in the crowd. So anybody who's sitting in my position, who's a PhD, who's very well learned, very well experienced, and a person like me sitting here would always understand the person in a different scene when it comes to me as a counselor, when it comes to me as a soft skill trainer, right? So soft skills are a basic requirement these days. If you talk about the interview sessions, if you talk about, you know, you train the youths these days, you have special organizations doing that. Why don't we start it from day one?
Yeah.
And there are small things which we just ignore of no reasons. We think that these are not priorities. Our child answers, the parent, if somebody asks what your age is, and the parent answers, he's 6 or she's 6. Why does the parent need to do that? Let the child be independent enough from day one. We keep spoon feeding the children, and the one day they're out, we let them exposed to the entire world all alone. So we have to create a generation which is rich in value system and super polished when it comes to showing their self in front of the people. And we need a community like this.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, you know, why train youth? Why don't we start from the age when the child is small? So any programs which we can design.
But earlier, like when we talk about the story of Abhimanyu, right? There is never a start. You just have to give yourself a thought that you want to do it. And it will happen. Definitely it will happen. And we have to bring the change, right? We are the game changers.
Exactly, ma'am. So as you know, as school leaders, ma'am, can we have some programs in the school going on wherein we can focus on building soft skills?
Right. I have been doing that, you know. I have been taking sessions with children. Now, you say, how do you teach soft skills to children? There's little ones. So taking up phone calls, right? So when these days, that's the basic thing which is happening at home. So the child pick up the phone, hello, mama, aapka phone hai, and all that stuff, right? So if you just say, auntie, can you hold on for a second? I'll call mama, she's in the kitchen. How are you? How is everybody at home? So these are little things which actually our children are not trained for. right? And like these days, it's an absurd thing, right? Talking about birthday parties and all. So I have been training my teachers. I have, as a team leader or a school leader, I was always very keen on taking substitution classes. And I used to take substitution classes and get inside the class and talk to children about these little things. So how to be a good host, how to be a good guest, how to, unwrap a gift if you have a birthday and you've been present at something. So you don't have to unwrap it in front of your the guest around and all that stuff. You have to be patient enough. So these little things, as I would narrate, I've been talking to children about not to use mobiles, right? And the parents are used to using the mobiles everywhere possibly. So in one of my sessions, I've told the children that you don't have to let your parents carry the mobile in the washroom. So my little ones, the parents, when they came in for the PTM, they were like, ma'am, what magic do you do with the children? They are nagging at the door and screaming that Monica ma'am has said that you are not allowed to carry mobiles in the washroom. And the parents have to give the washroom phone to the parents out of the washroom. So, these are the we actually taking away the phone from the parents when they are driving. So life-saving skills which we have to teach the children, right? When they're home alone, being street smart. So these little things definitely helps a lot in the grooming of a child.
So absolutely.
Soft skills is a very important factor in everybody's growth.
Yeah, and a very beautifully, ma'am, you have introduced in your school, a wonderful initiative that do small practices. This can be adopted by every school,
Right.
And the transformation can be seen because this is a very much needed skill. It definitely gives you an edge.
Right. And the parents feel so happy when the little 5-year-old, 6-year-old is teaching you the life skill that this is not to be done like this. This is supposed to be done like that. So the parents feel so accomplished that their child is actually correcting them. And so it's not always the parents correcting the children. I always advise my children that if the parents are doing something wrong, you always have to take a strong stand.
And they are always, they always look for this opportunity also. Children, so today I'll tell mama you are doing this thing wrong.
Then when they address it that Monica ma'am has said not to do, then there's a sense of achievement there, you feel you've got your medals and your laurels there itself.
Yeah, for children, it's like when my teacher has said 2 + 2 is 5, it is 5. Yes. They will agree to it.
They idolize the teachers, when they go back home, they will talk about what the teacher was wearing, how she was holding the book. So we are the idols for them. So why not idolize in a fashion where the children grow up to be really good individuals?
A very beautifully given answer on this soft skill thing, ma'am. Wonderful insight on this. And I'm sure my viewers are going to gain a lot from this. Going ahead, ma'am. So going ahead, ma'am, tell us about the changes that we see in education during COVID-19 pandemic. How will this change the future of higher education in our country?
I believe it has, broken the glass ceiling now. We all used to feel that education is something which is, could be gained from wherever platform you want to. You can take up any online channel, you can pick up, documentary or go on to a news channel, and the child, everything is available on the Google. So everything is accessible and can be learned easily. So now that myth has been broken. Now the parent, the community, the society has actually understood the importance of teachers, the importance of education system, the importance of child coming to school regularly. It's not only that we are all sick sitting back at home, it's about actually making the parents and everybody understand that a one-to-one communication, a physical interaction of a child with the teachers, of a child with the peer group, traveling in the buses, reaching the school on time, eating those lunch boxes or having meals in the community, dining hall and all that stuff together, and interacting with each and everybody around you is so important for each one of us. The growth is not possible until you are a social animal. Yeah. And we as teachers been always treated like, okay, fine, jaate hain, bacche pad ke aa jate hain. That's how it is. But now everybody has understood that teachers play a key role in the development of a child. They're very, very important. So this pandemic has been a game changer for all of us, and especially if I talk about me, it has given me quite ample of time to sit back, think how life is and how do we have to take it forward. education system has transformed. Definitely, we had a plan B, which we have been serving our parents on. But then as an educator, as a mentor to the students, as a teacher myself, as a principal, I feel there's a huge gap. This can never be a mode of teaching children, right? So you have to teach them right, you have to take the right channel. And the right channel is sending the students to school.
Definitely, ma'am. See, this is the need of the hour, and we all are, trying to adjust with this and take it forward, because learning cannot stop. But the learning
that was a crisis management, and we come up with a plan, but then that is a crisis management. That doesn't solve our real life problems.
Yeah, it's sort of, stopgap solution that was just adapted. And very rightly said, ma'am, children needs to go to school. School is just not the
And it's not only for education, it's for an overall development of a child, right? So a child gets education, plus there are blah, blah, blah things which a child learn in the school, which we can't even put it in words if we try to do that.
Yeah, which I'm sure everyone has understood by now, what all a child learns in school.
True that, exactly.
So on this note, ma'am, we will move to our next question. Ma'am, there are many accomplishments which I just spoke about in the introduction. So which one you are most proud of?
I just feel proud to be a teacher. Still, I tell everybody that I am a wonderful teacher. I never address myself as a, vice principal, or somebody who's heading the things. And personally, I believe there's a long way to go. Still have a lot to achieve. So that's not the end of my journey. That's just the beginning. So maybe somewhere later down the lane, we'll sit and talk about a lot of accomplishment, what I've achieved. But as on date, I don't feel that I am an achiever. I'm just a performer. And I want to keep performing for another 10, 12 years and cater to my students. And that's what my passion and which keeps me going.
Wonderful, ma'am. So, ma'am, biggest accomplishment for her is that she's a teacher and she continues on this journey, keep learning and keep growing.
And it's not only for my students, at times my friends tell me that, start putting up certain videos to inspire, put up something so that, people around you, so I could talk to my parents, the kind of exposure this position gives you. It's something which is unparalleled. The kind of satisfaction you get when you have your children running around. They look up to you as an idol. When the parents believe in you, whatever you say, they actually feel that you are talking about their children, but you know them more than the parents do, right? So that is something really, if the people put that hat onto you, the trust hat, that's something you have to carry on with you. That gives you a sense of satisfaction. And that is the most important, what any professional needs.
So the way you answered this, ma'am, it really shows how passionate you are about teaching. And it's all about the passion, the passionate teacher speaks from her heart. And when she teaches and educates students and parents, that thing is reflected thereon. So, ma'am.
And I don't miss a turn to teach my teachers also. I'm a teacher kind of a person. So my teachers are always so happy. They said, whenever we come to you, we actually end up learning something or getting something from you, and then we move out of your cabin. And that's something which I feel it's a kind of a positive note for me.
Right. So, ma'am, this brings to me to the very interesting segment of the show, which is called rapid fire round. Okay. You need to answer in one word only.
Only one word?
Only one word. Okay. If question requires 2 or 3 words, then you may need.
Yeah, sure.
So here comes my first question. Describe your leadership style in one word.
Come again, please.
Leadership style in one word.
Okay, I'm a team player.
Team player, all right. Name a school principal you admire the most.
It's Mr. Prasann Wilfred. He's not a principal. I would like to again mention this here. He was my mentor when I started my career, and he's running an organization which is into personality development and IQ development of the children. So what he does is wonders to the children. So I wish he had a school and he was a principal. That would have been the most renowned school in India. He's the kind of person I look up to.
Can online learning replace traditional schooling?
Never. Traditional old school is always in trend.
Do students need to be evaluated?
Yes, each one of us.
Last question of this segment. Persistent questions, curiosity questions are greater than intelligence questions. Would you agree?
They're wheels of a three-wheeler. right? So you need all three of them. You have to be really, really persistent on what your goals are, and you have to be adamant to achieve that. Not to give up kind of an attitude, and the kind of approach takes you places. And I am an example for that. I'm very, very persistent on what I want. Curiosity is something which actually makes you explore things in a different tangent. A normal person looks at the rain in a different fashion. A person who's curious would look at the clouds, would look at the ground, would look at the raindrops, would look at the trees and everything around. And that makes you curious, right? The third thing, what you said, an intelligent quotient. Intelligent quotient is the thing which we all need, which keeps us going. So maybe the intelligent quotient, I would say the front wheel of a two-wheeler, and the persistent quotient and the curiosity quotient goes the second two wheels of the three-wheeler. So we need it all.
Yeah, definitely. All three are needed. So very wonderfully answered this segment. A lot of insights, even in one word. So now we saw your professional side, ma'am. So now we would like to know, when you're not working, what are the hobbies or sports you're involved in? Why do you enjoy them?
This pandemic was actually ruined certain plans of mine. So initially, as you must have gauged that I love being with children. So this pandemic again gave me a choice that I started, catering to certain underprivileged students. And somewhere in my school days, I was working with, I was studying in a missionary school called Raphaels. So in our 11th, 12th standard, we used to go to a village nearby our school, and we adopted that village, and within 3 years we have made the entire village literate. So that was our target at school students. And at that point of time, it was fun, going on your two-wheelers and bunking your classes and teaching those students around in the thing. And it was in the school curriculum itself. So there somewhere it started helping the needy and the children, those who are not privileged enough. Secondly, working in MP, like MP is very, very particular about the RT and the inclusion, right? So I was again privileged there in the school for 7-8 years. We had children with the, special needs, some children, those who don't have arms, those who don't have legs, coming from a vegetable vendor's family or a butcher's family. They were all in our school. So I actually developed that interest there. And somehow in the lockdown, I was sitting back home. So I was calling the driver's kids, the maids' kids, and all that stuff, and helping them, especially with the English language. Right? So that's what I do in my free time. I was even associated with one of the blind schools, so that, I was doing the recording of the curriculum for the children, those who can't see and read themselves. So the curriculum was recorded in the old-fashioned audio cassettes, and the children play that and listen to the curriculum. So that I was doing post the pandemic thing and all, but it refrains me from doing all these things at this point of time, because for the safety reasons also, I didn't want the children to travel and come to me. Right. If I talk about, yes, driving is my passion. I love driving, and I've been traveling a lot. As I say, you asked me how does it help? It actually helps me. I've been in Indore, I was in Ranchi, then I was in Pune, now I'm in Indore, and in Mumbai. So I've been traveling. Otherwise, also I've been traveling a lot of countries I've covered, and a lot of cities in India as well. So I think that's a different kind of learning, meeting people, learning different cultures, different cuisines, exposing yourself to an international platform or different cultures and habits of the people. It makes you a different person altogether. So I'm in a state of transformation. So I love traveling and exploring places.
So I think ma'am is an example of how schools impacts your, the thinking throughout your life. School has a very important impact in your life. It changes your perspective. So as in ma'am's school, they were given the initiative of teaching the underprivileged students.
We used to call it as literacy mission, and that mission started when I was 16 years. Yeah. They have been teaching since I was 16, and now it's like ages.
Yeah. So definitely, ma'am, school is a very powerful place which has a lifelong impact on all of us.
Definitely. I agree.
So this brings me to the last question of the day, ma'am. This is also called viewer's choice question. You told me about mathematics, that you love teaching that subject, but when we had a survey on our show, which is the subject you are most feared of? maximum votes were given to mathematics, ma'am. So why is it so? Why do so many students hate maths, and how can we fix this problem?
I want all those students to come to me. If they have a teacher like me who's teaching them math, they'll never, right? So I believe, like what you say, mathematics is a game of numbers, right? And we teach our children talk in English, talk in Hindi, talk in Marathi, talk in this. I would always expect my children to talk in mathematics as well. You know, we hardly teach our children mathematics in their daily life. What time they get up, how much of quantity of milk are they consuming, how much fuel is the father getting into the petrol tank, how much is he paying to the vendor who's filling the petrol in the fuel station, right? How much quantity of the flour mother is using to make the dough. So these are the real life mathematic things which actually we miss on teaching the children. And I would like to mention, like you asked me, the principal I admire, there was a wonderful teacher of mine who was Mr. Chitnis. Right. So I was the most naughtiest one in the class. I was always a mediocre. And I always, today also when I counsel my parents, when I have orientations with them, I keep telling them that never pull your children to achieve good results as far as marks are concerned. So marks never make you successful, never makes you successful. Your determination does. So it's not always the toppers are the successful people in life. The mediocres are the one who wins the race. Right. Slow and steady wins the race. So that's how the rule is. So I had a wonderful teacher who started teaching me mathematics in 8th standard. And I was absolutely in love with the subject. So I say that if you want the children to learn any subject, it's not maths. If the teacher is, effective enough, she is in love with her subject, she'll make her, the taught fall in love with the subject itself. So maths, first thing is you have to stop thinking that math is something which you hate. Secondly is you have to include math in your daily life. Make children learn mathematics daily, right? And it shouldn't be sitting with a paper and pencil. It has to be quick maths running around your head. That if there are, suppose there are 8 cars parked in the parking. So how many wheels are there, right? So let the child do that kind of calculation in real life. Let them actually deal with things, shapes, numbers, and diagrams and all, whatever possibly. Let the child actually understand the shapes around. Let the child understand the numbers around him. So maths would definitely develop in a very good fashion. Secondly, if the teacher is good, if a teacher is good, no subject is ever boring. So we have to actually train our teachers to make the child fall in love with the subject. And it's not only mathematics, say English, say Hindi, say science, say social studies, say whatever.
So, this makes me think, ma'am, that when we get so many votes against maths, then is it that we don't have properly trained teacher for maths in our country? For your teachers,
I would not say only for maths, Seema. I would like to mention, I've been working with a handful of organizations. And if I talk about, again, Indore, then Ranchi. So you get different flavors of teacher. But the irony of the system is, the teachers are not happy saying that they are teachers. They don't take pride in their profession. They always, underestimate themselves. They always think that they are the underdogs, those who are not performing well. So they have to stop thinking that what they are paid for are they working. They have to start loving their profession. It's not for the money what they're working. If they just change their mindset, then definitely the work culture would change. The teachers training, the kind of teachers what we are picking, the kind of pay scales what we are giving, that will definitely be a challenge for each one of us if we look forward to our education as a system which will grow the nation, right? And that is responsible for the growth. So we have to actually train our teachers. And again, the NEP, the way it says, why not the child should start learning the banking profile early stages? Why do they have to get into the college to learn what they actually take up professionally? Why don't we start training a teacher from a 10th standard or 11th standard profile itself? And she, as out of her degree courses or the diploma courses, they are all trained and they are all expert in their subjects, right? And we are just teaching them to teach. We have to teach them to understand, teach them to counsel, teach to be a part in the society, and that can be done.
A very powerful message brought in by ma'am that, it's about training the teachers and making them also feel satisfied, and whatever they're doing is, even making them feel good. They should
And
feel happy.
I personally believe, Seema, no amount of money can ever satisfy you. No.
Yeah, it cannot, yeah.
So you just have to find the job satisfaction within yourself. And once you do that, then there's no looking back. No looking back.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very, very, very powerful thought and very powerful message in this answer was there. So I hope this message reaches out to all the teachers there, and they also feel the need to, understand the child and make them fall in love with the subject, as rightly said by ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very delightful conversation with you. We got to know a lot of things.
It was a pleasure talking to you as well, Seema.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. And I'm sure my viewers are going to get a lot of insights from this wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much.